Hold on, what is this? I know this guy.
A key progressive voice in the reddest of red states. Senator Bernie Sanders is spending this congressional recess back on what he calls his Fighting Oligarchy tour, trying to help Democrats find their footing among working class Americans.
I just really wish this energy went somewhere, you know? And you are not going to pull enough people over unless you're willing to attack the Democrats as well. People are so mad at the Democrats. You need to, like, if you are proposing a new way forward, you can't just yes-and people when the people you're yes-anding are Chuck Schumer or Pete Buttigieg or something, you know? You need to directly contrast them. Hasn't Bernie attacked Dems for years? God, no. No. When does he ever? He doesn't attack. He doesn't. He talks about the oligarchs and the Republicans and so on, but he does not call the Democrats out for being complacent.
And reclaim power next November. I hit the road with the senator in West Virginia as he took his message to the heart of Trump country.
It's good to be with you here. We're in Wheeling, West Virginia, and it's so fascinating that this is part of what you call your Fighting the Oligarchy tour, because this is a state where Donald Trump got 70%.
Really?
70%.
Not tonight.
Bernie's explicitly attacked Democrats in these events. Man, you don't do this, okay? You know perfectly well what I'm talking about, okay? I am very familiar with the criticisms that he offers, okay? What is he directing people to do? Like, what is the actual game plan here? Because the Democratic Party, as it exists right now, is not, like, capable of meeting this moment, right? So you have to offer alternatives. But then you have to start saying, like, uncomfortable stuff, like, we need to start primarying these people. We need Schumer out. He can't say stuff like that. Well, he could. And he should. But he doesn't.
Well, yeah, and this was an auditorium that was packed. It was at capacity. Still, what makes you think that your message tonight is going to resonate in such a red state?
Well, among other things, when I ran for president, I think here in West Virginia, we won every single county. Look, this is a working class state. It's one of the poorest states in the country. People are hurting, and they want candidates to come before them to stand up for the working class and take on the oligarchs who have so much economic and political power. So I think the message will resonate here. I think it'll resonate in many red states throughout the country, because at the end of the day, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't want to see tax breaks for billionaires. They don't want to see the rich get richer. They want health care as a human right. They want to raise the minimum wage to a living wage.
I guess, like, another issue that I have with this now is that it all feels kind of dated and painfully naive, when it's pretty obvious that the real cultural dividing line is whether or not you're a hate-filled monster who wants to destroy the country because you didn't get, I don't know, the right tendies, or your crush in high school went for a black guy or something, versus people who, by and large, wanted an improved version of the existing system, you know? Like, people aren't really being mobilized to the left anymore because of minimum wage type stuff, because the average Trumpoid genuinely believes that Trump's tariffs are bringing economic greatness to the country, you know? It's so much more fundamental than this. It's unfortunate, and I think that, like, genuinely, and okay, Marx did write about this, but a lot of people don't actually read Marx, including me. But just because the unifying interest of the working class is their class interest, right? Like a set of economic and political principles, it doesn't mean that's what actually animates people to vote, right? Or be politically action at all. Here's an example, okay? One of the most potent and effective rallying cries from the right in terms of mobilizing people, bringing them over, what is it? Vaccine conspiracism. Anti-vaxxers, hydrochloroquine types. This is, like, totally divorced from people's economic interest. Not only is it, like, objectively against their interest in the sense that, you know, being anti-vaccine hurts and kills them, you know, but it has nothing to do with, like, the quality of their lives, really. It doesn't really have anything to do with their jobs or their pay or what. They're not looking to improve society. They're just reacting. Anyway, I don't know. Who's out there protesting for Medicare for all? We're so far past that right now. I don't know. Not saying you shouldn't be for it. You should be. You're wrong if you're not for Medicare for all. But man, it ain't 2016 anymore.
To be able to live in housing that they can afford.
One of the things that you talked about here, as you've been talking about since even before it passed, is what the president calls his big, beautiful bill. cuts
heard
to
about it.
Medicaid, other programs. 25% of West Virginians receive Medicaid, 15% rely on food stamps. And yet, as I mentioned, West Virginians overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. How do you square that circle?
Well, that's a longer story that has to do with the failure of the Democratic Party in general to speak to the needs of the working class. This used to be, decades ago, one of the strongest Democratic states in the country. Now it's a strong Republican state because I think in many ways, Democratic Party has turned its back.
Well, no. And okay, so he's objectively wrong here. And this is where you need to bring out the other big gun, which is being really hateful, right? The reason West Virginia was a strong Democrat state was because the poor people here, union coal workers and such, benefited heavily from the New Deal, right? From FDR style programs, and that carried this state for decades, right? The people here benefited from it. But then the civil rights movement happened, and the whites who work here in West Virginia are really racist, so racist that they were susceptible to arguments that weaned away their economic rights, their rights with regard to unionization, their pay, collective bargaining, everything, every single thing that made life livable here. They traded it all away because they were told it was being given to the black man too. It's because these people are stupid and hateful. That's why. Now, have the Democrats failed in their handling of West Virginia and other rural areas? Absolutely. But fundamentally, that isn't the issue here. The issue is that the only thing that was able to get Americans on board with a broad, across-the-board economic revival package, one that affected and helped both whites and blacks, was the Great Depression. The Great Depression was so bad that people were like, okay, I don't care. New Deal, infrastructure programs, whatever, even if it helps black people, whatever, just get us out of here. That was the one time. And even then, by the way, FDR had to make capitulations. The GI Bill still did not help black servicemen who came back from World War II. There were still capitulations made with regards to the kinds of programs the New Deal was allowed to fund because there were racist whites in Congress who were aware of the fact that there were limits to how far they could push. I'm telling you, man, you have to square this circle, okay? No matter how much you might want to coddle them and patronize to them, there is no way out of this mess without acknowledging the fact that a significant number of people in this country are hateful, stupid monsters who would kill themselves if the brain splatter got on a black guy. Like horrible, horrible people. Alcoholics, domestic abusers, pedophiles. We're talking about areas with disproportionately high rates of domestic abuse, higher than anything you'd see per capita in New York City, but we don't talk about it because these people are poor whites, poor rural whites. I'm just, sorry, the Democrats have still failed in this regard, but there is a reason why extremely racist Rush Limbaugh style talk radio takes off so well here. There's a reason why this population is so susceptible to it. There's a reason why Rush Limbaugh, despite being capable of being broadcasted anywhere in the country, took off in West Virginia and not, say, in, I don't know, the Bronx. Okay.
On what was its space. But I think our job and the reason I'm here and the reason we go to red states all over the country is to make it clear that there are some of us who are prepared to stand up for the working class. And if we stand together, if we're united, if we don't let Trump divide us up, there is no stopping what we can do as a nation in terms of improving.
Would you say any attempt to appeal to them through this anti-oligarchy strategy shouldn't bother with states like West Virginia? No, because I'm broadly describing just like rural America. West Virginia is just one of the worst parts of it. Unironically, I really do think hate is the solution. You should hate these people, and you should make them stigmatized and uncool. They are so coddled. They are the American myth. They are the group that for some reason our politicians have spent decades bowing down to. It's okay to shit talk New York, even though it's the capital of the Western Hemisphere. New York City? Oh, everyone can shit talk New York City. Doesn't matter that it's the epicenter of America, of one of the cities of the world. It doesn't matter. You can shit talk it. 10 million people get wrapped up in the criticism. Nobody cares. It's New York City. That's how it is, baby. But the poor racists of the Appalachia. Everyone has to, no. These people are the noble soul, the heart of America. These people have a big chip on their shoulder. They think that the reason their lives suck is because things have been taken away from them. And they're right, but they think it was like immigrants and blacks and Jews and gays and so on. And unfortunately, you are not going to move this position over. You're not going to move this needle over by capitulating to them and playing into their belief that they're the noble heart and soul of America. Okay? The heart and soul of America is in the Bronx. The heart and soul of America is in South Central Los Angeles. The heart and soul of America is in is along the concrete beach of Chicago, or working on a tech startup in Houston. Everything that is anything in America happens in its cities. It's been like that for hundreds of years. The heart and soul of America is not, as a matter of fact, its lowest educated, most violent, most antisocial, most racist, hick, low population density, mountain dwelling, incest children heads. This is not the heart and soul of America, and we need to stop pretending that it is. I am not so anti-American that I would associate these shitholes with us as like conceptually as a country. Maybe as part of a broader tapestry, but we play into that fantasy of theirs so goddamn much. They want, exactly. They want to be the victims, and they want to feel great about it. They want, oh, we're the heart and soul of America that got left behind. No, you're the shambling remnants of a coal town that's been defunct for 50 years, and you consistently vote for people who pick your pocket, and you're proud of it because at least they're white. Like you. And you know what? I think this rhetoric works. In the same way that Republicans have been successful in appealing to Hispanic voters by being bigoted against Latin people, and Donald Trump in 2024 picked up voters in New York City by talking about New York City as though it is a degenerate, crime-ridden hellhole. I think that if you stigmatize a group, other people will work to distance themselves from it. On the other hand, if you bow down to that group and you play into their victim fantasy, their belief that they're the only real Americans, they will be lauded and their concerns will be taken seriously, no matter how bigoted and illegitimate they are. Anyway, I know I'm on this, okay? Right, but what if we ever want to flip the Senate again? You don't understand. We take West Virginia by hating West Virginia. You don't understand. The Democrats solidify West Virginia's permanent Republican status by refusing to acknowledge the fact that we all should be willing to acknowledge that it's just not cool to be a West Virginian, an archetypal West Virginian, to be a racist, incest-ridden. It's not. It's not cool. It's not good. It's bad. Stigmatize it, and people will distance themselves from the archetype, from the characteristics. Right now, every time a 62 IQ West Virginian raises their hand and says, you know, they think the reason coal hasn't come back to their town in 60 years is because of immigration, the capitulation to them only cements their belief that their problems can be solved by voting for other racists. Make them prove they're one of the good ones.
Big life for ordinary people.
You said the Democratic Party has turned its back on the working class. You'd said something pretty tough when you were speaking to this crowd about Kamala Harris.
One of the reasons, in my view, that Kamala Harris lost this election is she had too many billionaires telling her not to speak up for the working class of this country.
Ouch.
Well, no, I don't think that's, I like Kamala, she's a friend of mine, but her core consultants, were heavily influenced by very wealthy people. How do you run for president and not develop a strong agenda?
Language of capitulation, by the way. Kamala Harris failed the American people, then abandoned all of us for 6 months after a fascist tore into our Constitution. She said nothing and did nothing. She enjoyed mimosas sitting on a beach, while the rest of us every day woke up to new horrors, okay? I would not be taking the tone that Bernie Sanders is taking here.
Which speaks to the economic crises facing working families. You have more income and wealth inequality today than we've ever had. You have 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck. You got a healthcare system which is broken and dysfunctional. And despite spending so much, we're the only major country not to guarantee healthcare to all people. How do you not talk about those issues?
She talked about affordability.
Well, but in a vague, I don't want to rehash that campaign, but I think the clue to Democrats.
Pine 106, you know that meme that makes the rounds on Twitter sometimes where it's like, two newspaper printed articles on people's opinions of Nigeria. And one of them, the top one, is like, Nigeria may have its problems, but it's a culturally diverse wonderland. And it's like a wealthy Western tourist who has visited Nigeria. And it's like, yeah, there are problems, but look how nice it is. And then the next op-ed is from a guy who lives there, and he's like, get me out of this godforsaken hellhole. Classic. Yeah. That's Chatter's inside and outside of like rural red state areas, dude. Every time the subject comes up, there are people in chat who are like, don't you think you're being anti-working class? And then somebody in chat is like, I have lived for 30 years in the same Tennessee town, and I genuinely want every day I pray that during a military exercise, an American jet misfires and sends a Patriot missile slamming directly into my street, instantly vaporizing me, my family, and every neighbor. Like, get me out, get me out, get me out.
Victories is to understand that you got to stand unequivocally with the working class of this country. You need an agenda that speaks to the needs of working people. Is it a radical idea that we join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people? Is that a radical idea? You tell me how many people are talking about that. Is it a radical idea to say that we've got to raise the minimum wage to $17 an hour? Is it a radical idea to say that in the midst of a competitive global economy, we need to make sure we have the best educated workforce, that all of our kids, regardless of income, should be able to get a high.
It's worth thinking about as well that even though the working class is united in its class interest, at least hypothetically, politically, whether or not you're working class is almost irrelevant to your positions, right? Like, Democrats, overwhelmingly, you have like middle class, upper middle class, well-educated people. If you're well-educated and you live in an urban environment, like you have a college degree or more, the odds are pretty damn good you're a Democrat. Whereas if you are high school or lower education and poor and rural, odds are pretty dang good you're a Republican. Not 100%, but pretty dang good. At the end of the day, it's not really like the working class divide. There are other divides that separate people meaningfully.
Higher education. These ideas exist all over the world. They don't exist in America. And they don't exist because of the power of the oligarchs economically and politically. All right, let's be clear. In my view, the current political system in the United States of America is broken and corrupt. Does anybody think that it makes any sense at all that Elon Musk can spend $270 million to elect Trump as president and then become the most important person in government? Billionaires should not be able to buy elections. And by the way, that's not just a progressive perspective. Conservatives understand that too.
What makes you so sure that the solution that you're offering, which is a more assertive federal government, is something that is going to fly in places where
the president just deployed the military to D.C. and put their police under the direct control of the attorney general? What the do you mean more aggressive federal government? What do you the healthcare is free at the point of service because the government directly employs the doctors and the hospitals and so on? We already have public hospitals. What do you Jesus.
people have been voting in recent years Republican and have an inherent distrust of government?
Well, they should, and they should have a distrust for a number of reasons. The government is too bureaucratic and not responsive. But, and let me tell you what I'm sure you already know, is that if you look at the polling, and I asked the people here today, you heard me ask.
Anybody here think that the American healthcare system is vaguely effective?
Nobody in America thinks it's working. We spend twice as much as other countries, 85 million uninsured or underinsured. 60,000 people die a year because they can't.
And yet, like, at the end of the day, no matter how many good arguments you make, and so many good arguments were made for Medicare for All back in 2016, at the end of the day, like, nobody cares. Like, every Republican thinks our healthcare system is broken, but nobody can agree on the reasons why. The only thing they would be, like, amenable to, I guess, is the idea that it's immigrants up or something. Like, that's the level they're operating on, you know? Republicans don't actually want good things. That's literally true. Like, we have to acknowledge that. Liberals often make the mistake, and I'm accusing Bernie here of a little bit of liberalism as a treat. Liberals often make the mistake of assuming that their enemies have the same priors as them. the same, what would you call it, axiomatic beliefs, you know? Oh, yeah, the Trump administration, the MAGA movement or whatever, they might believe a bunch of wrong things and want a bunch of damaging things, but they're trying to maximize for the same good things underlying all that. They're just failing to do so. The belief, the ridiculous belief, that fascists are merely aggressively failing to deliver things like democracy, safety, peace, good wages, you know? They're just evil, man.
To a doctor on time. Do you think that in America, with all of our genius, all of our capabilities, we spending so much money cannot provide a high quality system that guarantees health care to all people? And do you think people here don't know that? They know it. They know we can do it. Throughout Europe and other countries, you don't have to leave college $50,000, $100,000 in debt, or $500,000 in debt if you're going to medical school. That makes zero sense at all. Look, let's be clear, and the message of tonight and what I will continue to give. You have a government today that is run by the wealthiest people in this country. They are extremely greedy people. They want it all, and we got to stand up.
If a nuke got dropped in New York, conservatives would be like, lol, liberals own lol. I think that is not a joke, and I think that a lot of people could internalize that. Yeah, I think they could do to internalize that, 100%. If there was some kind of like mass act of terror that killed 1 million people in New York, like I genuinely think that the Trump administration would be making jokes about it, and it would be like a widely, you know, like not even say 9/11. 9/11 killed 3,000 people. I would say 1 million. If 9/11 happened today, then yes, Trump would go on TV and he would blame Democrats in New York. Of course, he would blame Muslims as well, but you know, you get me.
To them. Unfortunately, for many decades, that has not been the Democratic Party, and that has got to change.
I'm sure you've heard about some Democrats who are talking about embracing the so-called abundance movement.
Yeah.
The idea that liberal politicians have created too much regulatory red tape, and it stops government from getting anything done. I spoke recently.
As opposed to the incredible efficiency of our current insurance system. I don't care about this. I mostly just wanted to criticize Bernie. Look, I like Bernie. I do. I genuinely like Bernie, okay? I really do like Bernie. I just, we are in quite a moment, aren't we? We're in quite a moment. We're in quite a moment. The moment has passed him? Yeah. And I can't really fault him for being who he is. You know, like I can't really, like, he was the guy for 2016 and the Democrats rat fucked him. I can't really, you know, I can't really fault the guy who led that moment for not, you know, being the guy we need now. It's just a totally different situation. I do still really like him though. I know a lot of people take it all, you know, deeply personally. Do you not think the Mamdani model is enough then? Well, Mamdani is a different case. It's a little bit different running for a mayor where you have sort of by necessity a more local constituency. You're trying to like win your office, that as opposed to like being an activist, right? Mamdani has been running as a politician. He has been trying to win office. He hasn't been speaking very much like an activist. Everything that he says, his strategy, his way of speaking, it's all kind of framed through that dynamic. The idea of like building a big tent and consolidation. But if if Mamdani was running for the presidency of the United States, so you're talking not just about local constituencies, we're talking about like a broader reach, a broader message, or if he was the president of the United States, I think that he would need to incorporate that hate. I do think so. I think hate is the appropriate emotion to feel. I understand. I sound a little bit like Anakin Skywalker, you know, talking to Obi-Wan on the lava planet, you know. I'm not trying to. It's just like our country is getting absolutely destroyed by evil people. And a lot of these people are evil largely because they're stupid and they've been fed a lot of misinformation. And God willing, when we take the country back, we will unmisinform them. You know, I don't think that a racist is always racist. I don't think that a bigot or a stupid person is unchangeable, you know. But like we need to be able to demonstrate contempt because it is shocking how few people seem to understand it is the primary radicalization method of the right and that is working. Doesn't hate hurt you more than the people you don't like? Are you 5? Did you just watch Sesame Street? What the f are you talking about? You need to stigmatize. If you want more specific language, you need to stigmatize. Okay? You need to stigmatize things that are bad. You cannot only stigmatize bad ideas, but allow the tens of millions of people who believe those things and will kill you to implement them to escape that scorn.